Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Anything Wrestling Podcast. Thank you once again for joining us. We are back here today. Unfortunately, it is not a triple threat, but there might be some interference in this one-on-one match. It is the Sean.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is the Commish. I am the advocate of the podcast. I'm going one-on-one with the Shant one. And we're going to give you what I think is our swerved opinion about this pay-per-view, because it is result time. Fastlane 2019. Weird paving of the road finally to WrestleMania now that it's finally started. But I don't know how I feel.
I was telling Kamish, I felt like they were literally writing the pay-per-view as the pay-per-view was going on. But yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. So, match breakdown guy, take it away.
So, real quick, well, we're not going to do sponsors today. Obviously, you'll hear the main sponsor like we always do. But I think we may, I don't know what's going on, but
Hello.
There he is.
Whoa, I didn't call for an interference.
Well, you know, sometimes these things happen.
So, Dan, are you the enforcer of this one-on-one match?
I dare say I am.
Okay, we'll have to see whose side you're on then. So, we were literally just getting started on reviewing Fastlane, and we were just saying how we thought it was one of the biggest swerve-like pay-per-views of probably the entire year. What do you think?
I would agree, because the commish can vouch for the fact that I texted him as I was watching it about 10 times going, wait, what the hell is this?
No, like, he's right, because, like, granted, I wasn't watching it myself. When he was texting me, he was telling me, like, why are they doing this? Why is this happening now?
That's not the way to ask the question.
Why are you doing that?
Like, did it feel like this pay-per-view was a clusterfuck?
A little bit. It felt like a bad community theater play at times, where the budget was kind of low. They were kind of making it up as they went. You had some people go rogue and do some improv when you have a script. There was some weird shit going on.
Maybe we should rename it to Y Lane 2019. Yeah, I mean, so we actually, I know we usually start off with the order of how the matches went, but we thought since you're probably on limited time, we can start covering the major matches first.
Yeah, that works.
So, Kamish, match breakdown guy, take it away.
So we got the impromptu wannabe Shield of Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, and Drew McIntyre going up against the True Hounds of Justice, the Shield, with Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. Let's get your take on it first, Dan. How did you feel about Roman's return?
So, yeah, you got the Shield versus the War Dogs, too. And it was a good match. I liked the match. I thought that they you even see at the very, very end, they looked like they were having fun. The whole hook of this match was, let's get the band back together one last time before Dean bounces. Who knows at this point if Dean's actually leaving? Because if you're building it into a story, now you're putting shades of doubt on it.
Right.
But no, I thought it was a pretty good match. You had that section where Drew and Bobby went off with Seth and Dean and were just fighting by the kickoff show table.
Yeah.
It was high energy. It was high impact, and I think you hit all the major spots, which was pretty good.
Yeah, I will mention one thing that I noticed, because the one thing that I was really paying attention to was how they were booking Roman coming back. And I noticed that there were a couple times where Roman went for a dive from inside of the ring to the outside. It got blocked. He went for a Samoan drop. It got blocked. He went for a Superman punch. It got blocked. And I took that as that's very brilliant booking because they're not giving you the sequential comeback-like matches for Roman Reigns. They're allowing for him to actually be spontaneous. Like when he did the Superman punch outside, I forget on who it was right by the announce table. You didn't see it coming, and I think that's what made it great. As opposed to before when you knew it was coming when he would do the taunt, in the corner and he would come up and hit you. So I think so far they're doing a good job with Reigns of not giving him, all of his moves and then just allowing for him to dominate the entire match. Yes, he did get the pinfall, which if I could go back, I would probably give it to Seth just because, again, building momentum to Mania. But the entire match was great, and I just thought, it's like you said, all the high spots from the past. For a second, I got a flashback to the Shield versus Evolution from a couple years ago when Seth did that diving attack on the outside. But overall, I thought it was a great match. Kamish?
Well, I think to add to both your guys' points, it's just simple because you're building on Roman being back, but not, he's invincible again. You're giving that feel of like he's still vulnerable, or maybe it's reality playing into the fact of his leukemia, like because it's in remission, but it's still probably making him weak because he's not fully 100%.
Yeah.
I thought the match was great. I mean, it seems like they have good chemistry, all 6 of them together. Obviously, I don't know if you guys have probably seen Raw. I'm still catching up, but like they singles match wise, they're like trying to attack them. Like, no, we want our moment. You guys individually don't deserve anything.
I was just gonna say, and I mean, you do have. Did you say you haven't seen Raw yet?
Like I've seen highlights, but I haven't seen it like where it's like full sit down to watch.
Okay, so I don't know if you saw this one, but they're even running a concussion angle right now with Roman.
Yeah, I heard something about that.
Which led to Dean demanding a match from Triple H with Drew. But that plays into that vulnerability that we kind of were calling for when he showed up 3 weeks ago. So.
And they're going with our plans because when we talked about how to book Roman Reigns, we talked about him going against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania, and maybe they're pulling the trigger on that. So I think this would be really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so as swerved as this pay-per-view is, unfortunately, I don't have a grading system for it because it's a real clusterfuck, so I'm just going to move on.
Okay.
Our next match...
So you're saying you would rate the whole show at CF?
Yeah. Clusterfuck. But moving on, we got the man, Becky Lynch, up against Charlotte Flair. Practically a 9-minute waste of a match, personally. Dan, your takes first.
All right, so I'll speak to the devil's advocacy initially. I don't mind. I don't mind what they did with it from a story standpoint. I was watching one of What Culture's videos last night, and he was talking about people saying, well, why didn't Ronda just come out immediately and attack Becky? And it would have been silly. It would have actually pissed people off more than this did. And I don't even think this pissed people off necessarily, but I wasn't necessarily anticipating it, but I also wasn't surprised by it. When I saw her running down the ramp, I went, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. So from a story standpoint, it's fine. From a match standpoint, I think it was a little messy, but part of that's also because we were trying to sell this leg injury. So you had Becky hopping around and flopping and getting tackled, and that was a little weird. But I'd say middle of the road match overall.
Well, I kind of found this like, okay, I get it. You need to sell the fact that she has to, again, earn her way into the main event, even though she did back in January. But it's like, you're right with the whole Ronda thing, waiting way too long into the match to just one punch to the throat. And then her's just standing there like, yeah, I'm the shit. I do whatever I want. I don't care about anybody. And it's like, you're not convincing me you're a good heel. I don't care that, like, her taunt on her YouTube channel was, like, scripted. I don't care if she was breaking kayfabe or whatever. It still doesn't feel genuine to me. Like, I get that off screen, you're allowed to do whatever, make it edgier and Attitude Era-like, but it's still not a good sell to me.
Personally, yeah, the match, I mean, Charlotte and Becky have had some really good matches. This one just was...
Hobble.
It was kind of garbage, in all honesty. I get it, ring psychology of working on the leg and trying to do that, but what's so funny is when Raccoon came out and punched Becky, I actually thought the inverse. I thought that Charlotte was the winner. For a second, again, I got swerved. I'm like, wait, so Charlotte won the match? And then when the announcer said, disqualification, by ruling of disqualification, here's your winner, Becky Lynch. I'm like, oh, okay, right. So for a second I was confused, but yeah, pretty garbage match. Raccoon trying her best to be relevant, I guess.
Just real quick, because I don't want to touch up too much of like anybody's time on this. Like, Dan, how do you feel about her heel turn?
I think it's better for her because I hate to say this, I just don't know that Ronda's necessarily a likable individual. Even in UFC, I mean, she was this dominating champion for a while, but she was still kind of a bitch the entire time.
Well, you can't ever ask her in interviews about a topic without her getting pissed off. If it's something she doesn't want to talk about, it's like, no, you're not asking me that.
Yeah, she's real quick. She's real quick to turn on you. Instead of like, it's because what's one of the things? Didn't someone ask her about her mother back in the day in an interview, and she didn't want to talk about it or something, and she got up and like left or yelled at them?
They asked her about her mom. They asked her about her ex-boyfriend situation, how she beat the dude up or whatever. And, like, she got pissy and just like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, in a professional setting, I feel like you could just refuse to answer the question, be like, I'm not comfortable discussing that topic. Can we please move on? And then you just continue the interview. Even if you're a little uncomfortable, professionalism dictates that you would move past it. Now, if they continue to cling on it and refuse to move on, that's a lack of professionalism on their part. But still, it always kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't mind her as a fighter, but like I said, I still thought she was kind of a bitch.
Well, Kamish and I talked last time probably for about a good 25 minutes.
24 minutes not deserved, by the way.
We were previewing Fastlane and we talked about this, and we really got to dive into why we have a problem with her. My issue with her is, I've said it before, yes, you've broken glass ceilings and all that, but learn to humble yourself. Don't go around town thinking that you're the shit. And we even talked about this last time, that she just cannot take criticism. The second when someone decides to ask her about a shortcoming, you can tell she has that demeanor of like, next question, so... Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty much, I guess I agree with the both of you on that one.
Yeah, so again, match not worthy because we knew that Becky was going to win. She's going to be added to the main event. So we'll move on with the triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Daniel Bryan, originally only against Kevin Owens, but then at the last minute swerve again with Mr. McMahon adding Mustafa Ali. Here's my question to the both of you.
Are you taking a survey?
Hey, yo. Does Mr. McMahon have a really huge hard-on for Mustafa Ali?
I I don't know. He's been booking him in WWE title matches against Bryan over on the live events. But I don't know, because I mean, I definitely don't see Mustafa as his quintessential type. But yeah, talking about the swerves, it was I think the last swerve thing that I really texted you about, where I went, wait, the match is still a triple threat because the announcer announced it. So part of me thought that maybe it was still going to be Bryan and Kevin, and then Kofi was going to come out, even though he was brutalized earlier in the night. And so then you're like, oh, so he's not going to even be a factor in this match.
Okay, so that I didn't mean to interrupt, but like that was the thing I was thinking too. Like, okay, because we see Kofi finally get like this. Oh, you have a triple threat. You got to go out there now, and he's put to like hell against the bar, and then it's like, is Mr. McMahon this evil again that he's gonna put Kofi? Like, okay, you really want your title match? Go face them now.
My take on the whole thing is I just think that they're stalling for WrestleMania so that we get Bryan versus Kofi for the title. Because again, I've said it before, it's like you need a story to tell from now until then. So maybe much like Becky Lynch, they're trying to give Kofi all these swerves and detours until he finally gets to Mania and gets his hands on the gold. So
yeah, I almost would have preferred just leaving it with Bryan and Kevin though at this point.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing out Mustafa, even though I understand he's got some history with Bryan at this point. But the issue I did have with it was, okay, so now you just brought Mustafa Ali out, which reignites the thing with him and Bryan. What's the likelihood that we actually see Kofi take the belt off Bryan at all?
Well, so, okay, that was my thing before my next question. I kind of, okay, because I think I remember on watching a WrestleMania video via YouTube that the build-up was originally supposed to be that Mustafa Ali was supposed to get the run. He was supposed to get the belt at Elimination Chamber, but because of his concussion, they had to substitute Kofi in at last minute. But the thing originally was planned for him and Daniel Bryan. So who knows what the original plan was now, because obviously that got scrapped because of the actual injury. My thing with everything is just like, okay, you're reigniting a new rivalry again with Mustafa Ali and Daniel Bryan, but Kofi's already said, like, Mr. McMahon, I'm not going anywhere. Like, you'll find me this Tuesday in your face about what's going on. And it's like, Kofi's gonna find his way into this. And that's what I respect about it, because it's like, no, I'm not gonna be a commodity. You're gonna put me in this story somehow. And we don't know if that's him playing off of, like, what they want in script or if it's off script, you know?
Yeah. And my thing is, I don't know if we're going to get a singles match now. I don't know if it'll be Bryan and Kofi. I think it'll be Bryan, Kofi, Mustafa, and probably Owens. But Owens might be out of it, and you'll get Kofi, Mustafa, and Bryan. Which I'm like, honestly, on paper, I don't have a problem with that match. That'll probably be a lot of fun to watch.
Well, okay, would you rather see a triple threat or a fatal four-way for Daniel Bryan's belt?
I would rather see the triple threat. I'd rather see Mustafa, Kofi, and Bryan. And then you could have, if you want to have Owens on the show, you could have him fight Rowan.
Because Rowan didn't get involved somehow.
Yeah, he did.
But I mean, I can see it going either way, but they both feel a little awkward to me overall.
I think, okay, look, I have nothing against Mustafa Ali. I've liked him since 205 Live. He proved himself by stepping up into SmackDown like, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to prove I've earned my spot. Like, he's pulling a John Cena from back in the day. Like, hey, I'm not just a prototype. I'm here to stay. And thank God he's not pulling a full John Cena. But
we can actually see him.
Yeah, but my thing is, like, I I feel like it's way too early to give him that quick of a run at a belt. Like, you can build him, like, go for the U.S. Championship, move him to Raw, go for one of the belts there, but I just don't see it right now.
If I could be serious for a minute, I personally think if the original plans had come to fruition, I think they might have pulled a Shinsuke from last year, where Mustafa Ali comes from 205 Live, gets this main roster momentum, goes to Mania, but then comes up short against Daniel Bryan. Just because, going back to your guys' point, I don't think anybody here has a problem with the guy. I don't think anybody here can say that he can't wrestle or that he can't have a match. But it's just a little too early to pull that trigger, and especially when, at the moment, you have people in the crowd continuously chanting, Kofi, Kofi. It's, and the funny thing is, New Day kind of brought this up where they're like, what happened to your announcement of new faces, new opportunities? We're going to give the audience what they want. And I'm like, they're really bringing this up. So are you really pushing for this at Mania, or are you just going to put it on the back burner? So
I'm going to dabble in the political side of this for 1 second. And this is not to bash Mustafa. I don't know that he should have a WWE title reign this quick, but I don't have a problem with it happening at some point. I just look at the situation a little bit and go, so you guys are really heavily considering going with another Middle Eastern champion before you ever have your first black WWE champion?
Wow.
No, but he's right on that, though. Because, okay, we've seen a world champion in Mark Henry. We've seen a WCW five-time
congratulations,
champion.
By the way, Harlem Heat Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, we forgot to mention that. But we've never seen a WWE African-American champion. It's like you can see it with the NWA Championship. You can see it with Ring of Honor Championship. Whatever the hell All Elite is going to build one day. But we still haven't seen it in the WWE. And it's like, is there something wrong with this still from Vince's standpoint? Or what the fuck,
And again, I'm mostly just saying because I don't think Mustafa's ready. And the fact that he feels a little forced at this point, given the fact that you've got the Kofi Mania thing going on. Mm-hmm. So I just think it's ill-advised to go that route.
Ooh.
At this time.
I just got a flash. Dan, hearing you say that, I just got a flashback to Royal Rumble where Daniel was the guy everybody was cheering for, but then Roman got pushed down our throats. So
yeah,
I kind of see that now with Mustafa and Kofi,
Yeah, and I had that revelation when he came out too, because the audience booed him. I went, they're gonna Roman Reigns them if they're not careful.
Yeah.
And this guy is too good to be Romaned out, unfortunately. I do not want to see
He
him
is kind of wearing Shield gear if you look at it.
Oh. Okay, so one last takeaway of this match, because we really haven't mentioned it. How did you guys feel about Kevin Owens' return to this main event match?
Go ahead, Dan.
I think he did fine. I think everybody in the match did fine. It was a fun match to watch still. I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Neither do they.
Clearly. Last night was very, very clear about that.
If I could just play devil's advocate for 1 second, I think the one good thing that Fastlane did do was the implementation of triple threats and fatal four-ways and kind of giving everybody a spot on the card. I know it might get a little bit repetitive, but I personally wouldn't mind if we started seeing more triple threats and fatal four-ways just to see talent make the card.
Yeah.
But Kevin Owens' return, I think it's a revitalization. I mean, there's been a face turn. He's lost some weight. Incorporation of a stunner, which is A+ from my perspective. He even revitalized his pop-up powerbomb to now where he sits down, and I think that's great. At first I thought he was going to swerve us with his face turn and he was actually going to be a heel. But seeing him be a face, I'm like, you know what? No, I think Kevin Owens needs kind of that fresh start, especially because 2018 was a garbage year for KO. So I personally like his return. It's just, again, it came at the expense of Kofi Kingston's title match. So there's all these people getting involved, so it just leads us to believe maybe there might be that triple threat or that fatal four-way that we were talking about.
I agree.
So I want to bring this match up. I'm going to skip the direction because I think this is one where... So me and Dan, we thought the tenacity of this match was kind of like, oh my God, someone could have literally been crippled forever. It was the Raw tag team triple threat of the Revival versus Aleister Black and Ricochet versus Gable and Rude. Dan, you know the thing I'm talking about. You sent me the video about it.
Yeah.
Did I miss something?
Okay,
So that was technically post-match. But you have this high-flying, this real intense match, and then the thing that scared me, and that's part of what I sent to the commish, was when you have Ricochet and Aleister Black kind of take control of everything at the very, very end. Ricochet goes for the
30?
What the hell is it? 630. And if you watch real carefully, his head, grazes the mat as he hits it.
Really?
And
the second time?
I panicked a little bit. My heart stopped.
So, I'll send you the video.
Yeah, no, I didn't catch it.
It's like if he didn't throw himself a little harder, as much as he did at that point, you could have seen the guy just be on the floor paralyzed. Right there in the middle of the ring, I'm done. My career is over.
It was a little scary, and you even kind of, I think, see on his face as he's getting up, he's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I missed out. I didn't realize that.
So real quick, this is my problem with this match. The lack of interest.
Really?
When you see who wins it. Because the Revival run, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I remember. Okay. So they win. There's no reaction from the crowd. None whatsoever. And I'm like, okay, it can't be just Lafayette anymore. It can't be Cleveland, Ohio. It has to be them. Are they not entertaining? Are they not what the people want? What the fuck is going on?
I think the Revival is poorly booked and poorly featured because I don't care about them.
My buddy and I, which Dan the Man and the Commish both know, he doesn't watch religiously. He's like, who's Aleister Black? Who's Ricochet? Who's Revival? And I told him, I said, look, Revival might look like a creator wrestler from 2K19, but just give them a chance. He's like, okay. He absolutely loved the match. The match was great. I don't have a problem with the match. I just feel like, going back to Dan's point, I told my buddy this, where I said, it's booking. These guys are not given time. They're not given airtime. They're not given, good matches. I told him, I'm like, 2 years ago in NXT, Revival had match of the year. They go from that to doing this. And you can have a great match one night, but if you're not booked consistently well, nobody's going to care.
I mean, you had DIY beat them in their debut match on Raw, didn't you?
There's that too. I don't know what's going on because Aleister Black's and Ricochet's nameplates still say NXT all over it. So I'm like, you're not really full-time on the Raw roster, but you're beating up the Raw Tag Team Champions, and it's demoting already to a poorly booked story.
But it's not even that they're beating them. They're going to SmackDown and beating teams like The Bar.
Yeah.
Or, what, did they have a match with the Usos already, I think?
I don't think so.
But they've been in tag matches with both sets of tag teams and both brands, and it's like, okay, you're showing you guys are ready. You're ready for the jump, but you're still not picking a brand. You're still representing NXT, and we don't even know what's going on with your bookings in NXT because aren't they technically never a team?
I don't believe so. I don't think they've tagged at all.
They're singles competitors.
Yeah, they are. I was just gonna say I personally would not put Aleister and Ricochet on the main roster. just because you just had about 8 call-ups from NXT, which you have, by the way, done nothing with yet.
Well, you're technically 7, because I kind of read into Lars Sullivan.
Yeah.
And what happened with it. I feel bad for the guy just because he suffered an anxiety attack before his debut.
Air quotes, because there might be some speculation that wasn't true, so I don't know.
Maybe if it is, still bad
But I
thing
mean,
to deal with.
let's look at it like this. You have Nikki Cross, you have Heavy Machinery, you have Lacey Evans, you have EC3, you have, who am I forgetting?
I don't know.
Am I forgetting someone?
No, Lars.
Lars is
6.
supposed to be there.
And then of course you have the recent. Well, it was 4 because it was technically Aleister Black, Ricochet,
Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa.
But we saw obviously Gargano go back,
And Ciampa went back, so
but Ciampa's on the shelf now.
Yeah. I think Gargano's been temporarily postponed because of that, because I think they were trying to get these 4 to come up and liven up the tag division on the main roster while still doing their own bullshit down in NXT.
But I mean, I don't know. It's just, you look at EC3, you look at Nikki Cross, and these guys, on their first match, you already feel like, man, these guys have dropped the ball already. Not the performers personally, but the booking team. And so to bring A-Lister and Ricochet already, it's like, I don't know about this one.
Well, I got two more thoughts on this, and then I think I do have to unfortunately end the call. So going back to What Culture, because I do like watching their videos. Adam Cleary, maybe, I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah.
But they did a video where they said we know exactly when these 4 are gonna get buried, and they had a graph showing every NXT debut since Finn Balor, and you just see that they get progressively lower in terms of like how many weeks until they get butchered. So that's probably going to happen to these guys too, sooner or later. My other thought was that with this match, you only had 2 ways you could finish it. Either Ricochet and Aleister walked out with the belt, or you do what you did, where Revival leaves with the belt, beating the other 2.
But you make them look weak at that point.
Yeah.
Because look at the end of the match. Who was the one standing, even though you have your champion still?
And that's what I'm saying. That's why that was the other alternative, is that those 2 walk out with the belts. I don't know that that they should necessarily be a tag team. They still feel like a patchwork team. But shit, they're not fun to watch, but they also seem to already be kind of doing their cookie-cutter NXT matches, so I'm concerned how long that's going to last before we all start to get bored.
So you personally feel like A-Lister and Ricochet are not fun to watch?
No, I like them. I like watching them, but every match they've had so far seems to cover the exact same stuff.
Right.
It's kind of like a Roman Reigns match, where Superman punch, spear, backflip taunt. I don't know their movesets well enough in my head to like walk through it.
Yeah.
But it's like they do the flippy thing, they do an acrobatic thing, they do another acrobatic thing, they hit a finisher, and the match is over.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see, but they do have the warning lights on.
Yeah. Again, every time, and I mean, if they pull the traditional thing of having, another 5 call-ups to Raw after WrestleMania, there's going to be a surplus.
It's going to look bad.
Yeah, it already is bad, so.
Yeah, but all right, guys, I unfortunately do have to end the call, but enjoy talking about the rest of the show, and I think I'll be back next week.
Perfect.
Okay.
Hope to see you. Enjoy.
Thanks for not hitting me with the chair.
Well, there's still time.
Ooh.
All right.
All right, Dan. We'll see you. Thanks so much.
See you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, yeah, like with that match, I just felt like
I mean,
there's potential. But I don't like how they're being booked.
I think you and I would agree the match was good, but the booking up until the match has not been so good. So, again, my buddy who watches wrestling seldomly even agreed that he even was considering starting watching NXT. He's like, if this is the action that they put, I would love to see this more. But because there's been no story for him to get to know who Revival is and, where they come from and who they are, it's like, again, even the most seldom wrestling fan cannot be invested, let alone a hardcore wrestling fan. So, yeah.
So to move on, let's go with this match. The Boston Hug Connection defending their inaugural tag belts against no personality and too much personality, Tamina and Nia Jax. This seemed like, hey, there's no real build-up with the four of you anymore. Because it seemed like, let's just put them out there for 7 minutes and their first tag defense. And you weren't even the main selling point. The main selling point that had me interested in the match was after. With what happened between Tamina and Beth Phoenix.
Yep. I personally feel like they've already dropped the ball with the tag team championships for the women, just because
It's not even a month.
Exactly. You had the Elimination Chamber match, which was great. Everybody was invested, but the night after, we go back to one half of the tag team takes on one half of the opposing team. Then the next week, the other half takes on the other half, and then
dumb.
Yeah, it is. But going back to, I was actually begging for a one-on-one match with Nia Jax versus Beth Phoenix. But then when Natalya came running out, I'm like, okay, I spoke too soon. Tag team match, WrestleMania, great. But yeah, see, it's like, that's WWE's, I think that's their go-to is anytime when there's a lackluster of reaction or sell, hey, let's get a legend back and let's try to spice things up. They always go back to this. Yeah.
But this is my problem with, okay. Say you bring back, what was their tag team? Beth and Nat?
Yeah. But
no, what was their name?
Did they have a name?
I think they had one. I think I saw it on Instagram from WWE's posting, whatever. You bring Beth back, I guess she's willing to do another match, and it's like, how much further do we need to bury Nia and Tamina? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing either. But it's like, you have... This is the problem. I'm so uninvested with these two that it's just like, I don't care if they get buried any further because I feel like they're on WWE's shit list right now. Well, because of their actions, because sometimes they cross the line of like, hey, we're doing what we want and not giving a damn what you guys tell us backstage. Even though backstage they're probably being told, stop fucking things up. Stop going off script. Because it seems like obviously, Nia has had a repeated history of this. And it's like, she doesn't care. It's like, well, I'm doing what's selling the crowd. It's like, yeah, but you're doing it at the expense of our superstars.
Let's break it down. First of all, you have Tamina. Someone who I think didn't do anything relevant before this until she was AJ Lee's manager. And before that, I don't even know. I think that they missed the opportunity for something. I think what Nia was doing was great work, where she broke Becky's face. You could have established her as like this nasty heel who, by the way, don't make her talk. Just let her come to the ring, destruction, leave. And you could have built a great match of Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax. Way before we got into this whole triple threat of Charlotte, Raccoon, and Becky. Mm-hmm. And I thought maybe if Becky gave Nia a really good, believable beating, maybe Nia goes off script for a while. You know, she disappears. Back of the line, we don't see her. But the fact that she came out and she started talking, and Dan even said this one time, her little eye roll that she does, it's like, I feel like when she doesn't know what to do, she just does that eye roll and just kind of moves forward. Nia should have been essentially your destructive giant in the female division. You know, someone who came out and just produced utter chaos. But don't make her talk. You gave her the mic so many times on segments like A Moment of Bliss, or she would come down to the middle of the ring and she would just talk profusely, and it's like, stop talking. Let literally your beating, you know, do the talking.
Be the voice.
Yes, let it be the voice. So I think maybe had we gone that route, Nia would have been a disgusting heel that everybody would have hated. So there might have been some investment there. But the fact that you slap her with Tamina, someone who, going back to your point, is Mrs. No Personality, Mrs. Just keep a straight face the whole time, you don't get invested. And again, WWE's go-to is, oh, we don't have people invested. Let's get a legend back up in here. And let's try to get somebody invested. And you bring in Natalya, again, bless her, she's been a veteran, but again, her booking has been very inconsistent where she'll show up, she'll disappear. She'll show up, win a women's championship, then she disappears. And it's like, people don't get invested. The reason why people like Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Seth Rollins, and all these people, you know, are always cheered, Daniel Bryan, is because there's frequency, there's consistency. You're seeing them on a weekly basis. What are they up to now? Who are they facing? What is their demeanor? Is there a face turn? Is there a heel turn? Is there a change of heart? But when you have someone like Tamina who, oh, you're still employed? Like, if that's the first question that comes into your mind, it's like, if that's the first question that comes to mind, it's like, okay, then obviously you obviously are not invested.
She comes out with like, my face is here.
Deadpan face.
And so I guess if you follow WWE on Instagram, you always see before their live events, they get a little vignette on their social media Instagram page. Finally saw her talk. And it wasn't much, but I'm like, that's it? How are you still here? Why are you still here? Why are you still employed by the WWE? So it's just like, God, like, I can't do this. That's why, like, this match was just another waste of a tag match. I get it, you have to show that these belts are relevant, but you booked it so bad. WWE fucked up.
Dan was just alluding to how woke culture puts on a graph of, you know, when they'll drop the ball on talent.
How's immediate?
Yeah.
For the belts.
When it comes to tag team belts, I personally feel like they've already dropped the ball with the women's tag team championships.
So let's move on. Again, no grading system. This whole pay-per-view got a CF for clusterfuck.
Swerve lane.
Do you want to talk about the pre-match?
What was it?
The New Day minus Kofi.
Just, okay, let's summarize.
You know what? Here, let's add it to... Okay, we'll add them together.
Okay.
The New Day, Big E and Woods versus Rusev and Shinsuke. Along with The Bar versus Kofi Kingston. Why are we adding them both together is because technically they do connect, and I hope they don't go this direction with these six because Kofi deserves more. So, the pre-match. Impromptu, last minute.
Lackluster, non-investment. Drop the ball on Rusev, drop the ball on Shinsuke. You are
two great heels, by the way.
Who you put together for what reason?
When they supposedly hated each other.
But hey, Lana brought them together.
You mean CJ?
I mean Anal.
No, CJ, because she's not even sounding like Lana now. She's
CJ Perry?
Yeah, like, what happened to her accent? Is she a Kofi?
Aren't you supposed to be Russian?
Aren't you? I have a really big problem with that.
And then going to the handicap match, again, this is where I think slowly the swerve began because Kofi gets told Mr. McMahon wants to talk to you about the title match.
He waited, quote unquote, outside his office for an hour when McMahon waited for him to show up an hour, and it's like, you can't even do the story right.
So McMahon goes, "You're in. Great. Title match is on next." Kofi comes to the ring.
You guys are barred.
Barred.
And you know what? Watching that segment again, I was like, he told them who he was facing. Low key, he told them. They just didn't. No one picked up. I'm like, that's fucked.
Handicap match was garbage. I know
they just beat him. I know Cesaro's your boy, but they just beat the fuck out of Kofi.
maybe they were looking for an excuse to put the bar on the card.
What excuse? You could have. I would have preferred the bar face Biggie and Xavier Woods instead of Shinsuke.
Writing team, are you listening?
And Rusev. Why? Shinsuke and Rusev right now have nothing going for them. I'm sorry. You took two great mid-carders, slapped them together, and now they're an even shittier tag team.
Rusev had his Rusev Day shtick going, which you took away way too quick.
Shinsuke got his belt removed from him after having it a second time, and it made him irrelevant as shit, apparently.
It hurts me to say, but I sometimes forget that he was the winner of the Royal Rumble last year.
Oh, Jesus. And he main evented at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Or was part of one of the main event matches. Low blow.
I will jump with the excitement of the day when Shinsuke does a fireman's carry, puts his opponent down, and just low blows him. That would be the ultimate. If I could create a finisher in 2K20, that's what I'm doing. Fireman's carry, and I just put him down, low blow. That's like a heelish move to do. Anyway, yeah, both matches were garbage. That doesn't mean that the talent can't do it. If the talent's given proper investment in the story and time, they can do it. I thought they would pull the whole thing where Kofi overcomes the bar just barely with a roll-up.
Kind of survives, like, hey, you wanted to do
tried,
that.
but
you tried to put me down.
I'm still standing.
Yeah, Kofi Mania is still going.
Yeah. SOS. Yeah, those are my sentiments. Really not much to say.
All right. And then we have 3 matches left. Let's jump into this next tag match because we kind of called it last week. The Uso Penitentiary defending and retaining their tag team belts against the former team known as Team McMiz.
Did we call it or did we call it?
My God, I was so happy when it happened because it's like, wait, I said Shane would be the one. Wow, it like that's the only good thing about this pay-per-view.
So again, my buddy and I, we were watching this, and when I saw Miz carry Shane out for a second, I thought it was going to be Miz who like rammed Shane's head into the turnbuckle. But and then when Shane turned, my friend's like, why? Why Shane?
Why not?
And I told him, I said, look, The Miz has been hated for a long time. If you just turn him heel, you're going back to the same old shtick.
And you're doing it in his hometown. No one would believe that.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that Shane turns on Miz in his hometown.
That's believable.
You invest in, okay, now we can jump on the Miz's bandwagon because for a long time, Miz as a heel was almost natural. Like, he didn't even have to try.
But even then, like, as he didn't have to try, there were still people who liked it. Like, at first,
I liked Miz. I've liked Miz for a long time. But as a face, I'm like...
But here's the thing. As a heel, at one point, I didn't like him. But he started to grow on me. Like, it made sense.
With this angle?
No, with the heel angle he had at one point.
Yeah.
With this angle, I even told you in the very beginning, like, I'm not buying it. I'm not used to face Miz.
I was willing to give it a chance because I thought...
It works now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was like, if there's one way you can turn Miz face is with the incorporation of... My dad's not proud of me. Will you be in a tag team with me? Oh, now dad's proud of me, and you know. So they made it work. I just feel like playing hot potato with the tag titles was You should have had them lose at Fastlane. You should have had the Miz and Shane be undefeated. Okay, we're good. We're a team. We're winning. Oh, we lost. It's gone. Shane turns. That would have been a little bit more as opposed to they lost it last time and now they just lose again. But then again, it could be frustration building. Like
That's the way they booked it though. As opposed to the Miz being frustrated, Miz, they're making him like the true baby face where he's like, I'm sorry, this wasn't how it was supposed to be. I'm still looking up to you because my dad believes in you. But then you get Shane doing what he did, and it's like, okay, this is better with the story, personally. And it's like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just hot potato happens a lot nowadays.
With the tag belts.
And even with the U.S. belt as of recent, there's been a lot of hot potato going on with that. So that's just my one main concern.
The weird thing was Corey Graves' reaction. The fact that he had a sentimental reaction about Shane putting his hands on his dad. And it's like, do you realize Shane has beat the shit out of his own dad? What makes you think he's gonna give a shit about someone else's father? Like, are you serious?
By the way, I think the Miz's father is a fan of Tamina because he has somewhat of a deadpan face as well, where there's almost like no reaction.
Maybe he doesn't know how to react. Because keep in mind, if they're building him into the story, it's like, maybe he doesn't know how to really do it.
Yeah, there's that too.
But we called it. We knew one was going to turn. We just didn't know when. I think that was the greatest time for it. Yes. And then the backstage part where he opens the door. I forgot who asked him. He's just like, shut the door again. Like, I'm liking it. I like heel Shane again. It's a good build-up to WrestleMania.
Yes,
at least for their story. If they keep it consistent, I think we'll see which could be a show-stealing match at WrestleMania.
Because Miz can have great matches.
Oh, yeah. And he's proven it. He's main evented WrestleMania already in his career. So we have the new, still defending and reigning United States champion, Samoa Joe.
Joe.
Going against Andrade with her. R-Truth with the other her. Versus Rey Mysterio.
The 619.
For the United States Championship. We saw this match already, except this time we got more of it.
Right.
I liked it because it's like, Joe's already proving like, hey, I have a belt in my hands. I'm going to defend it. I'm going to bring relevance. And even though he's a heel, I think that's what I like about any champion. They're ready to fight. They're ready to put that belt on the line and prove that they're worthy of having it.
I alluded to this before. I would say, I told you guys, I don't personally have a problem with having more triple threats and fatal four-ways in these pay-per-views just because, again, this is what you get. This match was great. It was awesome. Finally, Samoa Joe getting his due, finally having a championship on the main roster. And you have people like Andrade and Rey and R-Truth who still, they have their spotlight, and they're in a match and you can buy into it.
R-Truth's in pay-per-views again.
What's up?
So,
yeah, excellent. I would say make it the Fatal 4-Way era. I don't care, just have them, allow for them to,
I think they should be allowed free reign in the match. Like, yeah, in the back you book who wins, but like, do your thing. You guys find a way to make the right person end it.
Right. Glad that, people like Andrade and Rey and Truth are not just left on the back burner and are left out of the card. Have more triple threats, have more fatal four-ways, have more six-pack challenges. Let us see this talent because you have a surplus right now. So it's no longer the era of one-on-one good guy versus bad guy anymore. You got to incorporate a little bit more to make sure that all your talent has a spot on the card. So, yeah.
I mean, the match itself was amazing. That was one of the matches where I was just like, wow. Like, I thought it was great on SmackDown.
Yeah.
It was great seeing it again on Fastlane. I think that's like one of the few matches where I'm just like, okay, this is watchable. There's no swerve in it. There's no bullshit behind it. It's legitimate. The only legitimate thing about this whole fucking pay-per-view. And then we move into we have the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Asuka.
The reigning, still defending, and still women's champion going up against
Liv Morgan's sister.
one half of Team Fire and Desire. Obviously the Desire part, Mandy Rose. First of all, Corey Graves is a creep. He would not shut the fuck up.
Okay, there's actually a lot to cover in this match. Finally, Asuka is finally having matches on a pay-per-view. Someone who's supposed to be your women's champion, again, Becky alluded to this, the fact that ever since she lost the title, that title has...
It's trash.
It's trash. Not Asuka's fault, for the record. Not Asuka's fault.
She never said Asuka is trash. She never said the person holding it is trash. The belt and championship itself has become trash.
Mandy Rose getting a shot... okay, I thought you could have maybe done this on a SmackDown live episode. However, I did see what happened at the ending with Sonya Deville. And you and I have had a thing for Sonya since Elimination Chamber. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind a one-on-one match at WrestleMania between Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville.
You finally break them up.
You break them up, and I would say elevate Sonya Deville because she deserves it.
It's her time.
It really is her time. So yeah, I just think that again, Asuka has had garbage booking. Again, you could have had Charlotte versus Asuka at this point, part 2, where Asuka defeats Charlotte and goes back up the ranks instead of, because in 2018 she fell down the card really bad. It was the perfect opportunity to build Asuka and Charlotte part 2. Instead, you take Charlotte into the triple threat, which no one wants her there. And
no one still wants her there.
Yeah. So.
Well, okay. Let me tell you this. Let's go with this real quick. We have Asuka's 2018 start good. She wins the Royal Rumble. She gets her title match, and it's WrestleMania. All the way down to what? She was in a tag match with Naomi at SummerSlam.
Dancing.
Yeah, and it's like.
With teriyaki jokes.
You're not the Empress right now. You're shtick. And then you come back into relevance at TLC. With the TLC. No, she does because she wins it thanks to the raccoon.
But then.
She's here again. She's not here Royal Rumble moment. She's in the middle. But she's not a joke. She's still a great competitor. Don't get me wrong. I'll never take that away from her ever. My thing is, though, it's like you're booking her really bad. Or, okay, you say you want a one-on-one between Mandy and Sonya, right? Just because of how that match ended. My thing is, I would kind of want to build this as a triple threat.
Triple threat, okay.
So, obviously, Sonya didn't trip Mandy. She did nothing other than leave the thing there. I never saw her arm be like...
Well, it was supposed to be the apron that tripped her up in story.
Yeah. And I was just like, wait, what the fuck? That's it? Like, the match ended so abruptly and weird for me. But then again, Asuka looked like she put a beating into Mandy.
Asuka, I don't know if you saw the slow motion replay.
One of the kicks?
The very last kick.
Oh, God, yeah.
My buddy and I were watching, and my buddy's like, oh, shit, he kicked her jaw off. I'm like, yeah, Japanese wrestling, they do that. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind a triple threat. Because, let's be honest. If Sonya and Manny don't get used up, they're going to be in the pre-show Battle Royal. For the uterus trophy.
Oh, that uterine lining.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, take a look at the trophy from last year and just squint, and you'll see what we're talking about. So,
I mean, they're already going with the story that like Mandy is pissed at Sonya, and we'll see what happens tonight on SmackDown. If they build on this really well, it could work. Like, you can even have Sonya start going against Asuka in non-title matches to build it. Let Sonya get one win in a non-title.
exactly.
The following week, you can have them put the belt up. Mandy ruins Sonya's chances out of
She
revenge.
gets jealous, yeah.
Have them to start their own thing even further, but don't leave Asuka out of it.
Yeah.
Because she's the key in all this. There's a reason why they're fighting each other. They want the championship.
Right.
But here's the thing. Who do you book to win? Sonya or Asuka? Because you're riding on this momentum wave of Asuka being relevant again. Do you take that away from her and give it to Sonya now to run with the ball? Or do you build some controversy in the end of that match to further it?
Just for the sake of not having Asuka tumble down more than she already has, I would have Asuka win this match, but I would have put the focus on Sonya and Asuka after Mania, to where you have that program and Mandy can veer off and do something else.
But you separate them completely.
Yeah, you separate Mandy and Sonya, because let's be honest, Absolution has been done for a while now, and you're just trying to.
Paige is not coming back.
Yeah. And again, like when we saw Sonya at Elimination Chamber, if you said, would you instantly give her a title shot, I would say yes. That's how invested I got in her, because she proved that she can expand, and she can, elevate herself, and she can become much more than just a generic person who just stands there.
Shit, I personally thought it would have been Mandy and Sonya to face the Boston Hug Connection for the tag belts, not Tamina and Nia. Because it seemed like they put up the better fight in Elimination Chamber.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, no, we're booking it this way. It's like, oh, God, fine, whatever. But I want to see these two separated finally.
Yes.
Because there's always been this weird tension of like, I'm better than you. You're just my like understudy, even though you're my best friend, quote unquote. And it's like, no, what if she really is better than you?
Yeah. Not to say that Mandy is bad. It's just, again, I have not seen too much from her. Mm-hmm. Even in Elimination Chamber, I'm like, Sonya was the dominant person in that
She carried
tag
the team.
Yeah, basically.
And you can even go off of that where like when they start hitting each other, it's like Sonya can call her out in a promo like, I carried you. Not the other way. If it weren't for me, we wouldn't have never got our chance.
By the way, Sonya throws some really good, realistic, believable punches. I don't know.
I think she has MMA training.
She does, yeah. But I mean, there are some people who can't pull back a punch, or can't improvise a punch. Raccoon. So, last remarks about Swerve Lane.
Clusterfuck. It was a clusterfuck.
Thank you so much for joining us, and always remember, if you really want to see how much of a cluster that this pay-per-view was, you can catch it only on the WWE Network for a non-negotiable but very reasonable price of only $9.99.
$9.99.
It's not $10.
It's not $1,000, and it's not $1 million.
But $9.99. So there you go, guys. We just reviewed WWE Fastlane 2019. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you all next time.